The scent of pine hung thick in the air, sharp and alive, wrapping itself around everything like a memory refusing to be forgotten. It was the only thing that felt real, the only thing untouched by the silent, festering tension that had become the backdrop of our suburban life. Christine had been unusually persistent about this weekend away. A couple's retreat, tucked into a mountain lodge, far from cell towers and Wi-Fi signals. "We need this," she'd said with a too eager smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her tone was light, but something in her body buzzed nervous, almost twitchy. I should have seen it. Should have listened to the unease pressing at the edge of her words. But I told myself it was work. It was stress. That maybe this getaway really was her way of extending an olive branch, naively. I believed it might help. I stepped out of the car and into the mountain chill, tugging our luggage from the trunk. The weight of it didn't match the heavier ache, lodged in my chest for months. Christine and I had been living with an invisible wall between us, one we'd both pretended wasn't there. Intimacy had become mechanical, a lifeless ritual performed out of obligation, and her presence, when it existed at all, felt spectral. She could be sitting right beside me on the couch, and yet somehow feel miles away. I'd tried to reach her. I'd tried to pull her back from wherever she'd drifted off to, but it always felt like shouting into fog. The lodge itself was beautiful in that deliberately rustic way, weathered wood, high ceilings, the smell of burning cedar floating faintly from somewhere unseen. Redwoods towered outside, their shadows cutting long slashes across the gravel path inside. We were greeted by a woman behind the front desk with kind, weathered eyes and a stitched-on namadig that read Brenda. She offered a soft smile as she handed me the clipboard and a welcome packet. "You've got a beautiful place here," I said sincerely. Brenda nodded, her smile deepening into something gentler, maybe even knowing. "Thank you, dear. You do enjoy your stay," she replied, pointing toward a side desk with a pen already placed neatly at its edge. Christine muttered something about needing the restroom and disappeared down the hall, the clack of her heeled boots echoing off the wood floors in quick, precise taps. I sat down at the desk and unfolded the check-in form. Name, address, emergency contact, standard stuff. My pen hovered as I began to fill it in, and then my breath caught. Dylan. The name leapt off the page like a strike of lightning across white sky. It was tucked near the bottom, written neatly beside Christine's emergency contact details. It wasn't a name I was meant to see, but it wasn't just the name, it was the way it looked sitting there, so casually placed, so deliberate. Dylan, the way she used to say it, soft, almost reverent, like it was a word she wasn't supposed to utter out loud. A hot, acidic burn rose in my throat as 1,000 forgotten moments suddenly returned with clarity. Late nights at the office, hushed conversations on her phone, her strange protectiveness of her messages, the distant stares, the hesitations, every little oddity I had excused now, lit up like signal flares. It all made sense, horribly, perfectly, painfully clear. My eyes stayed locked on the form, my heart beating a slow, thundering rhythm in my ears. I'd suspected, vaguely, but suspicion isn't confirmation, not until now, not until I saw it, his name in her space. A deep, nauseating stillness settled over me. I was aware of the low hum of the lodge heater, the tick of the clock on the wall, the occasional creak of a floorboard as someone walked somewhere nearby. I was aware of everything except my own breath, which seemed to have abandoned me. And then Christine returned. She approached casually, maybe too casually, until she caught sight of my expression. Her steps faltered, and her face changed. Everything. "Okay?" she asked, trying to sound normal, but her voice cracked at the edge. I didn't answer. Instead, I held out the check-in form, my finger resting firmly beneath the name. She followed it with her eyes, and the color drained from her face. In a single, violent second, a tremor passed through her hand. Her lips parted slightly, but she said nothing. "How could you?" I asked, my voice a rasp of disbelief. She tried. God, she tried to come up with something. Her mouth moved. She began to speak. It's not, but the lie wouldn't form. She stood there, helpless, watching as the careful life she'd constructed began to splinter. And in her silence, I saw the truth. She thought she could keep this up. Playhouse. Fool me a little longer. Maybe the retreat was part of the plan, a last-ditch performance before she could slip away again. Unnoticed, but not anymore. It's not what? I asked, louder now, my voice no longer trembling but rising. It's not his name? Not an emergency contact. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Is this what reconnecting looks like to you? A weekend getaway before slipping off to your lover again? Her eyes welled up, and that's when the anger really took hold, pure and sharp and cold. I could feel it take over, pulse through my arms and legs like electricity. The tears didn't move me. They only fanned the fire I worked for this for. U.S. I said, the words slamming out of me. The home we built, the life we were building. And you threw it away for someone you barely know. For this, for a name you didn't even bother to hide. She stammered something desperate. Empty, meaningless. I'm sorry. The words hit me like a slap. So simple, so hollow. Sorry? I scoffed, my voice sharp with venom. That's what you've got. All of this, our life, and all you have to say is sorry. My body shook. I wasn't just furious. I was betrayed. I was humiliated. I was broken but not shattered. Not anymore. You're going to go upstairs, Christine, I said, my voice calm now, almost to calm. You're going to pack your things, and then you're going to leave. You're not welcome in my life anymore. Her jaw dropped slightly, panic rising now that she realized there was no salvaging this. No bargaining, no second chance. Brenda at the front desk began to look over, a subtle concern creasing her brow as she pretended to adjust some papers. Wait, please, Christine whispered, raising a hand like she could stop the inevitable. Let me explain. There's nothing left to explain. You chose this. You made your decision the moment you wrote his name. I picked up the cabin key from the desk, my hands trembling only slightly now. I'll call you an Uber, I said coolly. Be out front in 5 minutes, or I'll come drag you out myself. Her eyes widened. The final blow had landed. She looked stunned, gutted. And this time, there was nothing she could do but stumble away, her boots tapping a frantic rhythm across the floor as she disappeared into the hallway. I stood motionless, waiting, a strange calm washing over me. The pain wasn't gone, but it had changed, hardened, focused. It no longer consumed me, it sharpened me. When Christine reappeared, she had a single suitcase in tow. She didn't speak, didn't look at me. Her silence screamed with guilt. I opened the trunk of the waiting Uber, placed her suitcase inside, then closed it without another word. She climbed into the back seat, her head bowed low. The car pulled away, her figure growing smaller and smaller until she vanished completely into the road behind. I didn't wave. I didn't blink. Brenda handed me a new key to a single-person cabin. Her face was soft with understanding. If you need anything, dear, we've got extra towels. I can add breakfast to your stay, too. That would be great, I said, and I meant it. The hurt in my chest began to recede, unraveling like smoke. Into the open air. This trip was supposed to save us, but she had already made sure there was nothing left to save. And now, for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't consumed by the question of what my wife was doing, or who she was doing it with. I spent the weekend hiking trails carved through the forest, each step clearing a bit more space in my mind. I sat by the fire pit at night, surrounded by strangers who laughed easily, shared wine, told stories. I joined in. I laughed too, and I remembered that I could laugh, that I still had pieces of myself she hadn't broken. By Sunday, as I drove home along winding mountain roads, I didn't feel grief. I didn't feel regret. I felt something quieter, heavier, but honest understanding. My heart wasn't burdened anymore. Christine had nearly destroyed me with her lies, but I had survived. I had come out the other side. When I pulled into the driveway of what was now my home, alone, untouched by her deceit, I realized something vital. This retreat had been sold as a chance to reconnect, and it was that, not with her, with myself. And that was the only connection that ever truly mattered.